Alright, so here's what we got going on now. Got our truck in the shop finally. Took me a little bit because I had to wait for the shop to be available. So I sat out in the rain for a little bit. Finally got the rad and the rad support off today because I wanted to drive it into the shop instead of pushing into the shop. You don't want to remove the rad and then decide to start the vehicle because if my camera person will follow me here. What we have here is a set of oil cooler lines we set into the rad at the back. They go through the rad and they cool the transmission fluid while the vehicle's running. Well, once you pop those off that rad, you can't turn this vehicle over, otherwise you'll have transmission fluid everywhere. Now what I've done also here is I've started disconnecting hoses and wiring. Okay, we have vacuums that have to be disconnected. Power steering lines that have to be disconnected. When you disconnect these, they're easier to disconnect off the power steering box than the power steering pump. The connections for the power steering pump are in the rear. These are on the steering box. Remember where they go because you'll have to put them back in. You just let them seep off into a pan at the bottom so if they drain, they will drain oil. There is another line that's already been removed. It's our heater core line, which came from... where is it now? Right here. This is our heater core line. Now, my assistant kind of messed up for me and he tried to take that off as the bolt and it broke off inside the top of the water pump. That happens, so try not to do that. If you look at the connection, you'll see there's a plastic piece. This plastic piece here, you get squeezed with, there is a specific tool you can use for this. You can actually use pliers if you really wanted to, and you mess with it and it'll pop right off. All it is a plastic clip that holds it in. Okay, now that's disconnected. Oh, caught on a line here. I've removed the throttle body injection unit. Okay, this is your throttle body injection unit here. Okay, we've cleaned this. We started cleaning this one up so when it goes back on, she'll look pretty. It comes off your intake manifold here. Okay, you have your send and return fuel lines that have to be disconnected from the back of the throttle body. When it sits like this. That's what's underneath the air cleaner. Okay, when you take it off, stuff your holes with a rag so that you don't get dirt and grime and stuff in there because you don't want that. Alright, there's 3 bolts, 1, 2, and 3. When it's sitting on there, you have bolts that go up like this that have your air cleaner on it. So you have this bolt and the one that sits here that mounts your air cleaner on. They disconnect. They're what mount the throttle body to the air intake manifold. Now, once you have that removed, you just take it away. Give it a clean up. Once it's clean, keep it clean. Then when you go from here, you start disconnecting your wire harness. Your wire harness is a big thing that needs to come out of here. Okay? Make sure you have no battery hooked up to this, but by the time you're at this point, you shouldn't have a battery hooked up. At this point I do because I was trying something. You remove your starter bolt here. This is positive. See this line right here? This is a positive line that goes directly to your battery. So if you have a battery hooked up, remove it before touching this bolt. Okay? Then you continue on, you follow your wire harness and you remove all your connections. They're very easy. You can do most of them with your fingers. You can't do it with your finger. You find a clip tool if you have one, a posted clip tool, or a straight edge screwdriver. And everything easily comes apart and unthreads from everywhere. Please be sure to remember how this all goes back together because you're going to want to remember when you put this next motor in, you're going to want to remember where every wire goes. If you don't, you just might as well kiss your whole project bye-bye. Okay, so I'm going to continue on what I've done. I've also removed my exhaust manifolds from the pipe. So the exhaust manifold is still attached to the motor, but the pipe has been disconnected from the manifold on both sides. Okay? From here, what I'll be doing is I'll be continuing with removing my wire harness. When I have that completely removed, I'll be going underneath, removing drive shaft, removing the cross member that holds the transmission and engine block, and I'll be putting in a set of straps that'll be going into these bolts here for my hook for when I ready pull, and this will be out pretty darn quick. Okay, so we're disconnecting the drive shaft from the rear end. There's 4 bolts, and this is, again, we're doing a Chevy, so normally it's metric. When you're in Canada, you're on metric system. But for some reason, I don't know why, these bolts happen to be a 7/16, but the rest of the truck is in metric. Okay, so anyways, they're a very difficult bolt to get at because of the drive shaft being in the way. With it being rounded here, it's hard to get a socket in on it. So what I'm doing is I'm putting a wrench on it and I'm impacting it with a hammer. That's how I've gotten this one here loose. Now once you get these 4 bolts off, okay, and this will come right out, then you come back this way. And this yoke right here, clean off all your mud and stuff here, and then underneath this crossbar, there's 4 bolts, 1 or 2 bolts, sorry, 1 and 2. They're a nut and bolt situation. Okay, and then you move back up some more to where the transmission is. Up here at the transmission, at your next knuckle, it just pulls right out. It's called a spline. So once you remove the yoke back here, you can just pull the shaft right out. And when you pull the shaft out, you make sure you have a pan underneath it because it will start leaking transmission fluid. You don't want it all over the floor, make sure you have a bucket. Okay, so now our next thing is to get this drive shaft out of here and start doing some mounts. We'll see you then.